Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's cooking demonstration and class with Melissa Reynolds. Melissa Reynolds has worked with small groups up to Fortune 500 companies to do workshops and wellness breaks. She has also been a health coach for over 10 years and has helped people set clear, concise goals and objectives so they can feel and do their best. Today she is going to be talking about eating healthy on a budget and giving a live demonstration of her cooking skills. Melissa, take it away.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Let me share my screen here really quick. Have you passed over control?
Yeah,
there
you
we go.
Yeah.
All right. Let me share my screen real quick. You guys can see this?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, as Kevin said, we're going to talk about healthy eating on a budget. So what I want you guys to do is, at the end of this, be able to think through some thoughtful meals for yourself so you can have some healthy outcomes for yourself. So what we're going to cover is we're actually going to cook together tonight. I know that you guys got some ingredients, but during our class portion, we're going to go over how to portion your plate. And this is general idea for cooking. If you have some special needs in regards to your health, of course, always check with your doctor and make sure that what you're doing is right for you. Again, this is just general healthy eating, and I'll give you some resources on where you can go to find this information afterwards. And we're going to talk also about making a meal plan, and then I'm going to give you some tips for healthy eating and how to shop at the grocery store, which I know that sounds probably crazy, but there are actual classes where people will go to the grocery store to learn how to shop their best. So that's what we're going to do today. I see that most of you already have your ingredients out. So I'm going to step back here and can somebody give me a thumbs up? Make sure you can still hear me okay? All right, perfect. All right, so some extra things you're going to need. One is a saute pan, and you're going to need some measuring cups. I have 1 cup and I also have a half a cup. And if you don't have that, no problem. We can just guess, not an issue. And then you're going to need a knife to cut. If you want to get a plate or a cutting board, those might be some options for you as well. And of course, all of your ingredients. If you have not already, I'd like you to go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And we're going to get that going here at the beginning. And then I actually am going to have you take your pie crust. Let me grab mine here. And it should have come in a little tin like this. You do not have, if you have a pie plate you'd rather put it in, you can do that. Sometimes people have some grain allergies, and you can make this without the pie crust if you needed to do so. So I like to have mine a little bit crisper because when we put in the ingredients, it is going to probably soak it up a little bit. So I like to put mine in the oven and for a couple minutes here while we get started and start chopping some of our vegetables.
Melissa, with you sharing your screen, I don't know how much on the video is going to show what you're doing.
Okay, give me just a moment. So can you guys see this next screen about what you will need? Here's what we just went over, and I just want to make sure you guys can see what you need. And if you could give me a thumbs up after you have this list of things and you've done it, that would be great. I'll give everybody a couple minutes. So we're going through all the ingredients, the cutting board and a stovetop pan, a knife and a fork. You're going to need a plate later. And if you want to get some other ingredients that maybe didn't come with what you have today, we will use those, like salt, pepper. A good one might be garlic powder if you happen to have that. There's a lot of other herbs and spices that you can put in, but if you only have salt and pepper, that would be great. And again, just give me the thumbs up. Brianna, are you good to go? Mindy? Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is go ahead and, oh, also, if you have olive oil or some sort of oil that you wanna cook with, just a very little bit in the bottom of your saute pan. I see one of you spraying, so whatever you wanna do to get started, I'm gonna come back here, turn my burner on to get going, and I'm gonna put just a little bit of oil in the pan, just enough so it doesn't stick to the pan. A lot of times I get questions about what oil is best. I'm actually using grapeseed oil this evening. Olive oil is a good one. The reason people ask is obviously for health benefits. I'd probably avoid something maybe like a canola or a vegetable, but grapeseed oil is good. And avocado oil, if you have that, that's a little more pricier since we're talking about budgeting tonight, but if you had it on hand, you can use it. So whatever you're wanting to use oil-wise. A little bit in the saute pan, and I'm just gonna make that go around, let it soak a little bit on the pan, and get the pan hot a little bit. We are making a quiche tonight, and the reason that I chose this is for a few reasons. One is it's generally a breakfast food, right? And a lot of times when people think about healthy eating at breakfast, they have a very hard time. I've coached literally probably thousands of people at this point in my career. And I feel like breakfast is always a hard one. They feel like they can manage dinner and lunch in regards to healthy eating, but breakfast is very carb heavy. A lot of times it's sweet. So I wanted to give you guys an option. You can eat it tonight, of course, but if you want to wake up and eat this in the morning, and depending on your family size, you know, if you're just single, or maybe it's 2 or 3 of you, you might get a few portions out of this quiche tonight. The second reason that I chose it is because I have realized with talking with so many people, the majority of population lacks in their vegetable intake. And I know we always hear that vegetables are great for us, but this is a good way to eat something other than just a salad. So there's a few reasons. I will hit on a few topics during our little lesson tonight while this is going to be in the oven. But go ahead and start chopping your onion. I usually use 1/4 of the onion, but I'm going to let you decide. So I want you to kind of get in the habit of seeing what might taste good together and letting you decide what you like. So if you like a lot of onion, maybe you put 1/2 in. I probably wouldn't put the whole in just unless you really, really love it, but I'm going to go over here and chop 1/4 of an onion real quick. And I like to do it pretty thin and get that going there. Can you guys still hear me? Yep. So I just do sliced onion. You can cut it however that you like. And then you can cut your pepper next. So the pepper, I'm using red. What color pepper did you guys get in your items today?
Green.
You got green? Okay, green works best. A lot of times when I'm going to go through this in a little bit, but a lot of times when you're shopping, I told Kevin and Mindy when they were picking up groceries for you guys, like red or yellow. Ooh, my smoke detector's going off. I got a little smoke in here. Give me a minute. Nope, it went off. So when you're shopping around, one of the biggest things is to look at the sales. So apparently green was on sale, or it was the cheapest, and a lot of times green is. But if it's not, or it's the same price and you want to mix it up, maybe you already get a lot of green in your diet and you want to mix it up, choose red or yellow. It will be fine. It will taste good as well. So I'm going to go ahead and toss my onion in the pan, and maybe a medium heat. And then I'm going to chop the pepper. I actually had red pepper on hand, so mine's going to look a little different than yours tonight at the end, but not a problem. This should taste very good altogether. The pepper I'm a little bit more particular about when I cut. I don't like huge chunks of pepper. Again, this is preference. So if you like it smaller, go ahead and chop it smaller. I like very small pieces. Mine are very small, as you guys can see. So I'm going to stop after I chop my pepper and make sure everybody is caught up. and we're on the same page. What do you guys like? Do you guys like red or green or yellow, or does it matter?
I don't like any peppers or onions, to be honest with you, because they're hard on my stomach to digest.
Well, if you don't want to put it there, you don't have to. Just giving you some options for tonight. Or maybe you...
Well, I'm still going to follow your recipe. I've been having a good run with my stomach here lately, so I should be fine.
All right, your call.
I did want to ask if a green pepper has a lot of spice to it, like the red and yellow ones, though.
So anytime you're eating a pepper, if you end up putting the seeds in it, it's going to be a little bit spicier. So what I usually do for a quiche is I pull out that whole center section, knock the rest of the seeds out, and it should be pretty mild for you. Yeah, so just make sure you get the seeds out, and you know, if you want to give it a little taste before you end up putting it in your skillet, just so you get an idea of the spiciness of it, you know, go for it. You know, maybe you chopped more than you wanted to put in, but that's a way to test that.
Almost done with my onion. I already got the broccoli chopped up.
And I would go ahead and season those pretty well. I'm just going to use salt and pepper. And again, if you like garlic and maybe you have garlic powder, that would be a great thing to throw in with this. It would give it some more depth of flavor. But if you don't have garlic powder, that's fine. Maybe you have garlic cloves. Maybe chop those up, throw them in. That would be good. But salt and pepper is just fine. So we can stick with the basics if you need to. So make sure you season those very, very well.
You wanted us to throw the onion in the skillet, right?
Yes, go ahead and put your onion and your pepper.
Okay.
Yep, and I usually do like a medium heat with the oil, and we're gonna start making sure that those vegetables get softened before we throw them into the quiche.
We got this. We got it. Oosh. Oh, mine doesn't have any seeds in it at all.
Oh, well, that seems like it works out for you then, right?
Yes.
Also wanted to give you guys something a little bit different to make. Not everybody always thinks of a quiche, but you know, a lot of times I feel like if I haven't gone to the grocery store, quiches are something that I can just throw together because I usually have staples like eggs, milk. You know, I haven't necessarily run out of those all the time, and then I just see whatever vegetables I have left over for the week and toss that in. That's why this is a good dish. We're choosing these today, but really I've used zucchini before or summer squashes. I mean, I think I've done eggplant before. I mean, it's whatever I had in the refrigerator. So it doesn't have to be this exact recipe. This is just what we're choosing today. Of course, you could throw this, we have spinach here. We're not actually throwing it in the quiche, but it is something that would be a great one to throw in.
Just out of curiosity, could you put meat in quiche?
Yes, you can. We'll talk a little bit about that, with why I chose not to put that in this one.
Okay.
But but yes, high possibility for sure.
I am quite carnivorous, so.
Yeah, yeah. Most people are. right?
Most people are what?
Like meat, like any
Yeah,
type of
love
meat.
meat.
Chicken, beef, pork, whatever it might be.
Not pork.
Not pork, okay.
There we go for a
Yeah, pork is a dirty meat.
pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
I'm curious, since we're talking about vegetable here, and I told you one of my reasons is why I decided to choose this. How many would you, if you're willing to share, you're totally up to you, but how many servings of vegetable would you think that you get in a day or in a week?
no comment.
Okay.
I actually eat quite a bit of vegetables, and I force my daughter to eat a bit of vegetables too.
Okay.
I would say we eat quite a bit of spinach, a lot of salad. She actually eats salad straight with no dressing on it.
Okay.
A lot of like broccoli and pretty much just about every vegetable you can think of, except for squash and zucchini and eggplant. We only eat zucchini if it's fried.
Okay. Well, it does taste good that way, right?
Yes. Oh my God. And fried green pickles, even better.
Ah.
Hey, Melissa.
Okay. Are you guys caught up on the peppers and the onions with the salt and pepper in the skillet? Yes. Okay. Mindy?
Did you put the pie crust in the oven earlier? Did I see you?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Do we need to take it out soon, or is it good?
I usually just check mine. Mine actually looks pretty good right now. So check yours, and it should just look, it shouldn't look all the way baked by any means, but it should be, look, I'll show you what mine looks like.
Okay, this is what mine looks like. That's why I was when I ask.
Yeah, go ahead and take it out.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so you should have peppers and onions on the stove cooking. Mine are cooking, and really we just want those to get softened. So next we're gonna do broccoli, and we're gonna chop that up pretty. Make sure I get at least a cup of broccoli in. So maybe measure out a cup, grab a handful. It doesn't take that much. When you grab a handful, it doesn't take that much to make a cup of broccoli. So I'm gonna chop mine. So just to give you an idea, I took this handful. This is a cup. It pretty much fits in the cup, and that's about what I'm gonna chop. Any questions about that?
Chopping broccoli.
Chopping broccoli. And I got broccoli florets. Do you guys have the one with the whole stem on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Love the ones with the stem.
So if you have the ones with the whole stalk of broccoli, I mean, choose as much as that you want, but usually I trim it down to look about like this, and I make sure I cut the whole piece when it's a little bit trimmed down. I personally don't love all of that stalk chopped up. I much prefer some of it like this and the tops. Anybody else?
You don't want the stalk? That's
What'd
the
you say?
best part. That's what makes the broccoli look like the little tree.
Yeah, you can leave part of it on there. And then, well, this probably isn't the best piece to show you. The other one was a little bit better. But yes, you can chop part of that. But usually broccoli comes in like the whole big stalk, you know?
Yeah.
You can chop that if you like. It's just personal preference. Mine is to leave a little bit of that, and it's your call. You can eat it, or you can add it in, or you can decide to leave it out. So after you chop that, that's going in the skillet as well. You might need to check your oil, and if you need to add a little bit more oil, then I would add at this time.
Ooh. Let me move it. I understand.
And you might need to add a little bit of seasoning to that as well. How y'all doing? Am I going too fast? Too slow?
I heard on my end that you're doing good.
Okay, sounds good. And go ahead and let me know when you're done with chopping the broccoli and pouring it in or placing it in the skillet as well. And also, as we're talking, if you guys have any questions, let me know. What would you guys say is the hardest part of eating healthy for you?
The healthy part.
Do you feel like you can't get it to taste good? Do you feel like you don't know what to choose? Is it overwhelming because you hear so many different?
I think I just like bad stuff.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes we get accustomed to things, and you know, we're so used to eating one way, and I call it, I mean, even if you're eating something healthy, sometimes you can get in what I call a food rut, and that just means you're eating the same things over and over and over, and it's good to have variety. So even within, since we've been talking about vegetables, we'll talk about that, and proteins, but you know, eating chicken all the time or fish or beef, you know, it's good to have a good mix in there. We're going to talk a lot about chicken tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about proteins, and again, why I decided not to put actual chicken or sausage, whatever. Actually, if you wanted to put chicken sausage in here, that would be a great add to it. And it would be I would say it's better than pork. Chicken sausage would be really good and tasty if you wanted to add a little something else. Again, that's going to add to your budget, but if you had a little extra and you wanted to do it, go for it.
I think part of the problem is most of the time we're all so busy that taking the time to actually cook a healthy meal is the problem. Fast food is so much quicker. But you know, and you get so tired of eating out and eating fast food and even eating at restaurants, but it's just the only time you have. And
yeah,
breaking yourself of that is really difficult.
That is difficult. So hopefully this gives you a couple meals, you know, out of it. Again, depending on how large your family is, you know, maybe this is one meal, but if it's just you or another person, you know, maybe this ends up being a couple meals. This is one of those breakfasts for dinners that you can get a few servings out of generally, if it's just you or one other person. And then you don't have to take the time to leave the house early and stop and pick something up.
For me, I grew up in the country on a farm, and we had a large family. So everything my mom cooked was starch, like potatoes and gravy. So learning how to cook healthy without involving the starchy foods is difficult.
We lost you. We can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Oh, now we can.
Now you can? Okay. Well, we'll keep up with this. Again, if you can't hear me, just yell out and I'll go the old-fashioned route. Brianna, are you good to go? I can't hear you.
You're muted.
Can you unmute her?
I said, yeah, I'm good. I just put a top over the skillet to kind of like get the broccoli to soften quicker.
Sure, sure. Okay, is everybody caught up at this point? Broccoli's in the skillet?
Yes, on my end.
Okay, very good. Next we're gonna take, you should have these little grape tomatoes. So if you haven't washed them off, I'd give them a rinse. But what I'm gonna do is take another handful of these and I'll show you how I'm going to cut it. These are really juicy, so I usually cut them in threes. If they're smaller, you can cut them in twos. But once you've cut maybe a handful of them, go ahead and toss it into the skillet as well. So this is gonna be super veggie. Again, I'm just doing a handful. This is what I'm cutting to throw in. I want you to get used to like cooking without a recipe and just kind of seeing what looks good and tossing in. If you like tomatoes and you want to add more, again, with anything, if you want to add more or less, you can. But I want this to be very heavy on the vegetable. Do you guys have any questions that have come to mind? You can interrupt and I'll leave that up to you. There's not too many of us here this evening, so I think we can manage it. We're gonna add tomato into something else later. So if you wanna go a little lighter on the tomato and you don't like them, this would be one of the vegetables that you might go a little light on. And if you could just, since the people's microphones are muted, if you just want to put in the chat done after each ingredient, that would be really helpful to me.
Done with the tomato.
Done with the tomato, all right?
Done with the tomato.
All right. All right, I think we're good. So the next is, if you don't have, does everybody happen to have a cheese grater this evening? This is what mine looks like, but you can use any type. Do you also have a cheese grater, Brianna? Okay, we're gonna shred the cheese at this point. Or did you get block cheese or did you get the shreds?
We bought shredded cheese.
You bought shreds. Okay, I'm gonna shred mine real quick. Give me just a moment, it doesn't take very long. The reason that I like block cheese over shreds is they put a little bit of additive in to the shredded cheese just so it doesn't stick. And this is gonna be a little bit healthier option in regards to that. So I'm shredding about half a cup of cheese. So if you guys want to measure out about a half a cup, that's what I'm putting in mine. And you can set that to the side. All right, next we're gonna get 4 eggs. And I want you, if you have like a bowl or you can do this in a glass if you have a large glass, but we're gonna
How many eggs did you say?
4.
4.
Yes. So what we're we're gonna do is beat your eggs up in the bowl. I like to get those going first before I pour in the milk part. And I make sure they're very well blended together. I'm just doing it in a little bowl like this, whatever you guys have, whatever's handy, whatever's easy. Make sure you keep checking on your vegetables too, make sure they're not burning. If they might caramelize a little bit with the onion and the pepper, which if they do that, that actually gives it some more flavor. So mine are pretty much done. You might check on yours and make sure they're at a good consistency. They are going to cook more because we're putting them in the oven. I just like those to get soft in advance. So after your eggs, you probably, I'd encourage you to season your eggs. I do a little salt, a little pepper. If you wanted to measure that out, I would say start at maybe a teaspoon of each, and then later after you eat, if you take a bite and it's not as flavorful to you as you like, at that point start adding in, because you're putting salt and pepper on your vegetable. I just want to season the eggs a little bit, and I have garlic powder. I'm going to add that. So if that sounds good to you and you have it, go ahead and add it. And then I'm going to incorporate that into the eggs a little bit more. Make sure it's all stirred around. The eggs can make it clump together a little bit, so I want to make sure it's pretty well blended. Okay, everybody got their eggs ready? All right, I'll give you another moment here. All right, so next we're going to take our milk, and I measure out 1 cup of milk for this. So it's 4 eggs, and then it's 1 cup of milk. And then I'm going to pour that into the eggs I just blended. So this is all in a separate container. And then I'm blending these again. So I'm gonna make sure the milk, the egg, the salt, the pepper, in my case, I put garlic powder, that these all are together. And go ahead and give me the done in the chat or the thumbs up either way, or you can speak out loud.
Done.
Done? Okay. Brianna, yours looking pretty good too. I saw you add some more seasoning in there. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start putting it all together. So grab your pie plate. Here's mine. I'm going to set it off to the side here. And what you're going to do is grab your skillet of vegetable. So the peppers, the onions, the tomatoes, the broccoli. And you're going to dump it in the pie plate. So spread it out, make sure it's evenly spread. That's why and if I'm going too fast, go ahead and speak up. What you're going to do is take about a ½ cup of black beans. We're going to add, this is going to add a little protein in with this. So we're going to have egg and we're going to have black beans as being our protein. Again, just about a ½ cup, and you can pour that in there, spread it out. Make sure it's evenly spread. Yeah.
Do we need to drain and rinse the black beans?
I drained and rinsed mine. Yes, I would go ahead and do that if you have not. Thank you for that question. So I'll give you all a little extra time here. make sure mine are pretty well rinsed, because when you open a can of black beans, that the water and then the starch from the beans, those mix and it just makes it really thick. So I would encourage you to drain them pretty well. I give mine a good rinse.
Half a cup of beans. Yes.
Yeah.
Done.
Mindy looks like she's done. No rush, Brianna. Just let us know when you're done. We've got plenty of time.
So maybe next time we do this, we could do like duck à l'orange. What? You know.
We could. I was trying to choose something that was pretty quick in the oven to make, and again, I wanted to choose a breakfast food since those are so heavy on a lot of grain items in people's diets. It's just not one that they really think of. I know when I go out for brunch though, a lot of times I'll put a little side salad along whatever I'm getting, and I don't think two things about it, but a lot of times I don't eat a salad for myself at home. So sometimes I think we put ourselves in a box on what should be breakfast or lunch or dinner, when really it's open to, we just get so used to, like I said, like a food rut, we're eating the same things over and over, or we're going to the grocery store, we're buying the same things over and over, and we're not getting a good variety in our diet. So hopefully this helps you a little bit today, especially after our lesson.
So what? Eating hamburger helper 4 times a week is not good. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'll let you decide after today.
After they check my cholesterol, yeah.
I think a lot of times, actually, I talked to my nephew about this the other day. He asked me some question, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember my response. I said, that's something that we can have on occasion. It's not an everyday choice, you know? So those are some things to kind of think about. I mean, a lot of things we know that are good for us, we just choose not to have them or whatnot. So sometimes it's good to think about things in that regard. You know, this is something that I have on occasion, but it's not an everyday choice. Then you don't feel like you can never have it. A lot of times when I was coaching people and they felt like they couldn't have something, they ended up having it more. They felt so restricted when they did have it, they just had it a lot. So sometimes that can happen to people. You need a couple more minutes, Brianna?
I got my beans in there. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so next we're going to take the cheese and we're just going to spread it out over top. Make sure it's evenly spread. And then after you do the cheese, that's when you're going to pour in your egg mix. So again, just make sure the egg mix goes all the way to the bottom. You might have to do this in several steps. And what I usually do is once my pie crust is full of the egg mix and all the vegetables, I usually just take my fork and I pat everything down just to make sure everything has a coating. What'd you say?
That's not me. That's my boyfriend playing his video game.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody was saying something. And then what we're going to do is put it, after you do all that, you pour you put the cheese on top, you pour the egg mix over. Again, I make sure everything has egg on it. I kind of pat it down a little bit. And then we're going to stick in the oven and put a timer on for 20 minutes. So 20 minutes in the oven. I'm going to go ahead and throw mine in. and then I'll get ready for our next part of our workshop. So again, just to repeat, cheese, egg in the oven for 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And again, if you could just let me know after you've stuck that in the oven and you're ready to go.
Done.
You're done? Okay. Loving the chef hats tonight.
I relinquish mine over to her. All right, it looks like everybody's pretty good to go, I think. Please stop me if you're not. Okay, what I'm gonna do is share my screen again because I want you guys to see a little bit about what we're gonna be talking about. Let me share my screen one more time here. So I went over what we're gonna cover today, and then we went over what you'll need. We have already cooked, or we're in the process of doing that. So what I want you to do today is I've given you a little bit of a background on why I chose the quiche option. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I really want you to get a basic understanding of how to set up your plate properly in order to get the essentials for your day. And I'll give you a resource that you can refer back to after this class. And it's a good resource. It makes things very user-friendly, and it's very easy to understand. If you're uncertain of something, it will break it down: fruits, vegetables, proteins, etc. And it gives you some idea of what you should be having for your day. Again, this is general good healthy eating habits. If you have any sort of health problems or dietary recommendations, again, always check with your doctor regardless, just to make sure that this is right for you. Okay, so has anybody heard of the food pyramid? Give me a head nod if you have. I think the food pyramid is very confusing, and I can never remember it. And this is what I do for my job. But what they've done is they've taken that and they've made it a little bit simpler. We eat off a plate all the time, or a bowl, or something along those lines. So what I want you guys to think about and consider is the 1/4 rule. So a fourth of your plate could be a protein. So when you're starting to set up your plate or you're starting to make dinner, we always want to have a protein in there. And that could be meat, which Kevin has referred to a few times, all sorts. And again, if you don't have any problems, go ahead and choose meat. Just make sure you're getting a good variety: chicken, fish, beef, whatever it might be. But protein does not have to come from meat. That's also in beans, nuts, seeds. So that's why I had you put black beans in here. Also, eggs are going to have protein in it. So that's important to remember. This is why I decided not to have meat in here, because I think it's something you can get it from other sources. And a lot of times the go-to is chicken or something along those lines. And people do not eat beans, nuts, seeds, eggs, maybe. So I wanted to give you some alternatives tonight. When you're choosing a grain item, at least half of the grains that you eat should come from whole grain.
So I think you guys ended up getting something that wasn't whole grain, but they do have those types of pie crusts in the freezer section generally. And that's what I would choose. So that's something that will give you, because you're going to want to add to at least half of the grains that you're eating for the day being a whole grain. There's so many other things out there. There's white bread. Of course, it's still made from a grain, but it's so processed. So we're wanting to get the best for you. So think when you're thinking of a grain, a fourth should be, another fourth of your plate should have some sort of grain on it. Rice, I would choose brown rice maybe, or wild rice, something along those lines. And then we've talked a lot about vegetables already today. I want you to feel like you're choosing all colors of the rainbow. And then there are two categories of vegetable. Mindy, you brought it up earlier. You felt like you had a lot of starchy vegetable growing up. Usually when people say, oh, I do eat vegetables, they say, I'll ask, well, what do you normally have? And they'll say potatoes, corn, or peas. And I'll say, okay, maybe those are a sometimes choice, but I would have more non-starchy than starchy vegetable. And there is a whole list of non-starchy vegetables. Everything but the beans we put in are going to be non-starchy today. So the broccoli, the onions, the tomatoes, what else do we there? A pepper. Those are all going to be considered non-starchy. So choose more of those, get a variety of color in, and if you have something that's starchy, I would make it minimal. The last part of your fourth to make a whole plate is going to be fruit. So at least half of your fruit should come from whole fruits. That means like I just grab an apple and I eat it, or I grab an orange, peel it, eat it. You can have juice, but juice is going to be a little bit higher calorically for the serving size. And a lot of times you're taking out a lot of the fiber in it. So we want to keep some fiber in. Is it bad to have juice sometimes? No, I don't believe so, unless you have any, again, sort of health issues. But we want to make sure at least half of your fruit is coming from a whole fruit. Any questions on that? None from you? Okay. Brianna, do you have any, or Kevin?
I'm good on my end.
I think that is really helpful. Again, like talking about, this is something that just is like, okay, I can piece that together. Then the food guide pyramid, that was a little bit more complicated. This is something that we can go through every day.
This makes a lot more sense than the pyramid.
Yeah. Kevin, I sent you a document that looks like this. And if you don't mind, throw it in the chat. If you guys want to save this, feel free to do that. It is totally up to you. I'm kind of giving a 5-day dinner plan here. But one of the things I wanted to discuss with you was making a plan. Again, we get very busy, but creating a meal plan, I think, will help you stay on budget because eating out gets expensive even. So creating a meal plan, it will take some time, but it's really worth it. And my next tip is to save the meal plans that you're creating for the future. You have put time, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, into this meal plan. So you've thought of them, you're going to go buy the groceries for them. So however you do that, I a lot of times use the notes feature on my phone to create grocery lists. If you write it on a piece of paper, maybe you keep it in the console of your car after you go to the grocery store. You have put time and energy into it. So when you don't have time, I do need to run to the store, I do not have time, pull an old list out. Oh, I did that a month ago. This looks good. I'll do the one I did a month ago. Because let it help you now. You put the work in earlier, just let it help you now. So hopefully, a lot of people don't do that. They jot a few things down, they throw it away, you know, things along those lines. I did want to talk a little bit about this 5-day dinner plan. So I started you guys out with vegetable quiche tonight. You were not supplied with all the ingredients here by any means, but I wanted to give you an idea of how you could, different meals that you could use. So say you added chicken. You started with vegetable quiche, you're having black beans, you're going to have a side salad, you're going to have tomatoes, broccoli, onion, pepper probably left over. So there's a lot of different things when you're just adding a different type of protein in. So maybe you make up a bunch of chicken. That's something that I do quite frequently. I have an Instant Pot, but if you don't have that, throw it in just a pot of boiling water, season the water very well, and you'll get a bunch of chicken. Shred it. You can make little chicken salad wraps. Grab an apple. So the grain, we're talking about the 4/4 of your plate. The chicken salad is going to have chicken, so there's your protein. It's going to have some sort of wrap. I'm assuming that's going to come from a grain. Throw a bunch of vegetable in there. I put with side salad, but if you wanted to put all of that spinach or something that you have on that wrap, just make sure you're at about 1/4 of the plate. Throw that in there, or you can make a side salad. Either way, maybe you grab an apple. We gave you a bunch of apples. So can you see how we're starting to build around the vegetable pieces that you were given? You can really build around anything. I'm just trying to give you some things that might be helpful based upon what you were provided with today. Shredded chicken and zucchini boats. So maybe you made that chicken in advance. Okay, well, let me season this a little bit differently. Maybe I put some cumin on there, or, you know, whatever might be. I'm gonna like take the zucchini, you cut it long ways. Maybe you take out some of the seeds. You're putting that shredded chicken on there. If you wanted to sprinkle a little bit of the cheese that you got, that's an option. Again, always can throw on a side salad. Actually, the beans would be really good in that too. So if you took a little bit of the black beans, mixed it up with the chicken, spread it on the zucchini boat, sprinkled a little cheese on top, that would be a good option for you with the ingredients that you have. The pepper actually would be really good in there too. Oh, I used half a pepper in this quiche. I'm going to use the rest of half a pepper. I'm going to mix it in with the chicken. I'm going to mix it in with the beans. You know, that would be a great one. Tomatoes would go great with that too. Just depends on what you like. I put avocado on here. If you want a little bit of a splurge item, that's a great one. You can make a little guac out of it, of course, but I like just slices on it. Again, just a little seasoning I think would be good. And then I chose brown rice to go with this one. So again, we're going around the plate. Do we have protein? It's the chicken. Do we have vegetable? That's going to be the zucchini boats and maybe any of the other things that you added in that I made a suggestion of. You're going to have brown rice, so that's going to be your grain. And tomatoes are technically a fruit, so if you wanted to add a little bit of that in there, or again, any type of fruit, you had apples, oranges, whatever laying around, that might be an option to throw on your plate as well. Any questions about this so far? Do you see how it's coming together with the 1/4 rule? Okay. Chicken stir fry. So these are chicken, but it's a lot of different ways. We have chicken tortilla soup, as you guys can see. So there's a lot of different options here, but I'm basing it off that chicken. A lot of times I'll do that chicken in the Instapot, or I'll boil chicken, I'll shred it, and I'll take some of it for that specific meal that I'm going to make, and I'll put the rest of it in the freezer. There's so many times that's been a time saver for me. Oh, I already have that chicken made up, it just needs reheated. That's been a huge one for me. A lot of times we don't take time to prepare, but that's one you can put on the stove, go do 5 other things, and come back and it's cooked for you. And if you want a good tip on shredding chicken, because I do not like shredding it, who's with me on that? Hand. I put it in the pot. I take my hand mixer. When it's still hot, blend it around. It shreds perfect. Time saver for sure. So we already went over creating a meal plan, saving your meal plans. Before I continue on, any questions about this 5-day dinner plan? None? Okay. Brianna, you good? All right. Sounds good. Kevin, I also gave you this document, and this is just a real easy grocery list, but I'm having you put it in 4 different categories. Of course, you can do this on a piece of paper. You can do it on your notes list, you know, in your phone, as I was suggesting. But there's more things than proteins, vegetables, grains, fruit that you're probably going to be buying. So I put a miscellaneous category down there. But the reason I'm organizing the list this way is because there's 4 main categories, right, that go along with the 1/4 rule. So this will help you organize your shopping when you go, and also help you start getting into your brain. This is how I'm eating. I'm going to have all these items so I can portion my plate properly. So again, it's just kind of reinforcing some ideas when you split it up like this. Lists can also help you stay on track with healthy food choices and your budget. I mean, we've all gone to the store hungry before, and what do? Grab something that looks good. This is easy right now. So creating lists and making a commitment to keeping them can help you stay on track food choice wise and with your budget. Who's been there before? I've been there. Yep. All right. Any questions about the 1/4 rule or anything along those lines? Does that make sense to everybody? How do you guys feel like you do this? Do you feel like you do a pretty good job already? Or is this something that the majority of time you could do a little bit better on? So, okay. So here's some shopping tips. Of course, shopping sales is always going to be on the list, right? One of the things that I usually say there, personally, I prefer fresh vegetables, but I'll also eat frozen. I usually avoid canned. If canned is cheaper for you, what I usually recommend is they're preserved, right? If it's, say, green beans, open the can, drain it, rinse them off. Let's get some of that stuff out of there. But I would say fresh and frozen, and then third would be the frozen's just as good. Sometimes I don't think it tastes as good, but nutritionally, you should be fine as long as it doesn't come with. I know some frozen has like the cheese sauce or something on it. Of course, try to avoid those. There's some other things you can do to make it flavorful.
Frozen green beans are nasty.
I agree with you on that one. There are some that I just don't prefer, but yeah, like broccoli, I'll buy that frozen. I don't have any issue with frozen broccoli. I can usually make that taste pretty good. You know, one easy thing that I do, actually, if you guys wanted this, a lot of times in the frozen section, they'll have a mix of onion and pepper, and it's already chopped for you. That's a real quick, if it's on sale, but the separate pepper and onion are not, go for the freezer section. It's going to save you time anyway. So meatless meals can also help you save budget-wise, and we're having one of those this evening. That's also why I wanted to cook this. So hopefully that helps show you there are some things that you can do. Meat is going to be probably a little bit more expensive than some other things. A lot of times that ends up adding a lot to your budget. So there are some options out there to get a good protein in, cover all the portions of the plate, and still help with your budget. Of course, avoid having pre-made food. That can be helpful. I know a lot of stores now have it's near the deli case, and they'll have some pre-made things. And as convenient as that is, I have found that it can be very pricey. I mean, chicken salad will be like $12.99 a pound. That's crazy to me. I could make all of that up and have something left over ingredient wise to make it probably a whole nother time or two for way cheaper. So avoid buying pre-made foods. A big one that I talk about a lot with people is being willing just to try something new. So maybe you go shopping and maybe you always buy broccoli, but this week it's not on sale or they're out. Look around, see what is on sale. Again, food ruts happen to me and other people. I've talked to so many people. I have just noticed trends, and we kind of get our favorites and then we don't branch out. So also, if you try something new, a lot of times it's going to add maybe a different vitamin or mineral or something along those lines in your diet that you don't normally have. How many of you buy in bulk? I know I do sometimes. You do, Mindy? Okay. Yeah, that can help you with your budget a little bit, definitely. If you have the room for it in your refrigerator or freezer. Again, broccoli is one of those ones I don't mind frozen, and I will buy it bulk at Costco. That's an easy one for me. Okay, shopping tip about shopping the perimeter. So when you think about when you walk in the store, what's the first section you normally come to? Can I get some feedback here? You might have to unmute yourself.
Fruit and vegetable.
That's right. And then what do you hit next? It's usually towards the back side of the store.
The meats.
Okay, and then as you come around the other side, it's usually what?
Dairy.
You got it. What's in the middle?
Your box foods, canned goods, stuff like that.
Yes. So shopping, when you set your grocery list, the way I told you, you're going to be able to shop the perimeter. There are going to be some things that you need from the middle. Brown rice, of course. And if actually that's one of those ones, you can get the brown rice, or like I mentioned, wild rice that's already seasoned, it's already cooked, and all you do is pop it in the microwave. But that's going to be a little, those are probably anywhere around $2.50, $3 maybe. But if you bought a big thing of brown rice, maybe you made it up. My timer's going off, so let me stop that. It's going to be a little bit cheaper on your budget, of course. I'm going to check my quiche here real quick, and I just do that by sticking a knife in it. If there's a lot of egg on it, of course, I'll keep it in there a couple more minutes, but let me check mine real quick. And you guys should probably, how many more minutes are left on y'all's? I don't know when you got it in. Yep, maybe 5, 2, okay. All right, let me check mine real quick. I usually put 20 minutes on, check it, and then if I have to put a little bit more on, it just depends on the oven. Actually, mine looks really good. So let me pull it out here. So I don't know if you guys can see mine. That's what mine looks like. If you could give me a, mine's cooked, or mine needs a little, maybe 3, 5 minutes, whatever you think.
Mine still needs some more time.
Okay, how much time do you think? What are you guessing?
I'd say like 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. We still got a little bit to go though.
I am mad as hell because I just sweat. Stuff all over the floor.
All right. And then I wanted to go over a few little cooking tips. Again, these are just kind of some ones you already know probably, but season well. That's going to make some things taste really good. I mean, if you're not putting seasoning on anything, it's just bland. I wouldn't like it either. And try different herbs and spices. Cumin is a really good one. Of course, if you just have salt and pepper, it's going to do something to it. But cumin is a really good one. I put that on chicken a lot. Actually, mustard, different types of mustards are a really good way to flavor proteins. I like Dijon, and I'll put it on chicken as well. Let it marinate a little bit. Again, that's not an herb or a spice, but it is adding some flavor to your meal rather than just salt and pepper. Cook a lot and save it for later. Again, I mentioned doing that earlier. That's a big one for me, especially with chicken. I don't really do that with beef or turkey, but chicken, I will definitely do that. And then cooking. When you're choosing from each category to build your meals, I need something from each category. If I don't, something's lacking. Okay? And then try a new cooking method. A good example that I always like to give is my mom used to make Brussels sprouts, and that's always a big one that nobody likes, it seems. They were steamed. I just thought they were gross. But I decided to chop them in half one day. I saw something where people just chop the Brussels sprouts in half. They put a little olive oil on, garlic, salt, pepper. They put them in the oven and roasted them. They caramelized a little bit. It is one of my favorite things to eat as part of dinner now. And all I did was try a new cooking method. They went from steamed to broiled. And that's something we don't always try. So just maybe you grill it. Maybe you have a grill. It's grilling season, or we're about there. And that might be something that you try. Maybe you're sauteing, just depends. So just trying a new cooking method can definitely change the flavor profile on things. And maybe you find something else that you like. Maybe you're trying something new. again, or I haven't had it for a long time, but it was on sale this week, sure, I'll give it a try. It'll help with my budget. Maybe I'll try to grill it this week instead of just steaming. So hopefully that helps a little bit. What are your guys' preferred ways to cook?
Well, I have gastroparesis, so it's actually like my stomach is really iffy about foods. Even if I like am used to eating something for days or weeks on end, eventually my body will reject it. So I eat a lot of like vegetables and fruit that's blended up. I eat a lot of grilled fish or boiled fish.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of braised chicken, or I bake it, or I have a crock pot. I don't know about you guys, but I like to put meat in the crock pot, like chickens, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you can cook a lot in the crock pot.
Yeah, you can. And I have a small crock pot, but it still cooks a decent amount of food in it. Good. I also like to make like pastas because, you know, when your body rejects food, you lose weight. So that's one thing like that'll put weight on you fast is carbs. Make really good stuffed shells, and I love chicken Alfredo.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you're using a crock pot. That's a good one. And I forgot about that one tonight. So maybe you put something in advance and you eat it for dinner later in the day or the next day, whatever. Good. Thanks for bringing that one up. The website that you guys can refer back to if you want a little help, like, okay, I'm having this for each meal, but what should I be having approximately for my day, it's called choosemyplate.gov. And if Kevin, if you don't mind throwing that in the chat, choosemyplate.gov, they might have, I think if you enter that in, I'm going to look it up here real quick. It might just, they changed it to myplate.gov, but if you type in choosemyplate.gov, it will also come up. And again, this is the one that's very user-friendly, and it will go through what I'm talking with you about. If you click on, once you get in there, you can click on each section, proteins, and then it will say for a man or woman or a child or whatever. It will give you some sort of guidelines. It will also give you some guidelines on how much you need of each of these items daily. So what does a serving size look like? And one of the things with serving size I like to encourage is maybe keep your measuring cups handy. Portion that out a little bit. See what a cup of spinach looks like. Put it on your plate. What's that look like? Okay, I can kind of eyeball it going forward. So you're not constantly have to measure. Maybe you need a reminder every now and then, but that's a good way to make sure you're getting a serving. And a lot of times it will tell you if this is cooked or if it's raw. So this is a really good website if you guys want to refer back to it or just need a resource. Has any of you ever heard of that website? Or do you have any questions right now? This would be a good time to take some questions. How's your quiches looking? Are they cooked through? No? Some ovens are different. Mine was right on the spot at 20 minutes, so.
No, mine's still a little raw in the middle.
Okay. Well, that's fine. What I'm going to do next is, feel free to ask questions at any time, but I want to finish rounding out the plate. So what I'm going to do is grab mine. I want you to grab an apple. I'm going to clean off my cutting board a little bit here. Clear a spot where I cut some broccoli. And I like my apple sliced. I don't like to bite into it. Everybody's different. You do not have to do this. I'm just setting it up so we kind of know what our plate looks like. So we'll cut the apple here next. And apples can come in various sizes. There are some apples that I've seen that are probably going to be 2 servings of apple. So, use your, I'll let you guys decide, but usually it depends on how large it is. Mine are actually an apple about the size of a baseball would be a good amount. Because again, sometimes I've seen them, they're probably a baseball and a half. So a medium-sized fruit. If you're choosing something different, if it's round about the size of a baseball, otherwise I would choose something that you would consider medium. Okay. So let me go ahead and put that on the plate. I'm going to cut my quiche. I'm a little bit ahead of you guys, but no worries. I'll stick with you here. And I cut quiche in a pie plate like this, about 8 pieces. So I just keep cutting down the middle. That makes it easy for me. Yours might have to sit a little bit. Sometimes quiches need to settle a little bit. So after yours cooks, you might need to wait a minute. And since yours is still cooking, go ahead and grab the spinach and a few other little tomatoes. We're just going to make enough to make a quarter of your plate a little spinach salad. And I'll let you choose the dressing. I know dressings didn't come in your bags today, but if you're choosing a dressing, what I usually encourage is some sort of vinaigrette. Avoid something that's creamy. You're already put milk in the quiche to give it some good consistency and let it gel together. So you're getting dairy already a little bit through that, and cheese, obviously. So dressings are a way that you can make a healthier choice. So you can make your own. Also, if you want to put a few little spices on there, I would grab oregano a lot and put it on salads. But we're going to chop your spinach pretty thin. We're going to make a little salad. And again, maybe about a cup or something, or if you just grab a handful, that'll be fine. So I cut spinach, I just kind of roll it all up together and cut it. Technically it's called julienne style, I believe, but I just kind of cut strips there. I'll come closer so you can see a consistency. Can you guys see that? Okay. We're just going to create a quarter of the plate there. And then grab a few little tomatoes if you like those. I like to put those on top. But again, oil and vinegar are great for dressings. Some people like Italian. Today I'm going to use balsamic vinegar. There have been times that I make my own little lemon vinaigrette. That's actually probably one of my favorites, is a lemon vinaigrette. It's just a little bit of lemon and oil, and then you put some salt and pepper in there and mix it all up. It's one of my favorites. That's really simple if you don't have anything, but I'll let you guys choose your dressings. Those are just my recommendations. Again, I have balsamic here this evening. I like things really acidic, so that's why I'm choosing balsamic. And a little bit of olive oil. It just takes a splash there since it's not very much salad. I'm actually going to use my grapeseed oil that I used earlier. A little bit on top there. We're getting a good healthy fat in. When you choose a healthy fat, it's going to help keep you fuller longer. So good oils are a good way to do that. I mentioned avocado earlier. That's a great way. The avocado would be really good on this salad if you had one around. There's a lot of different things. So when you're looking at this plate, There's 3 sections, right? Can you guys see mine? What do you think's missing off here based upon our 1/4 rule? Is there anything that's missing?
I want to say the starch, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're headed in the right direction for sure. I'm gonna set my plate down. So this is also why I chose a quiche. A lot of times if things aren't perfect on the plate, I've found that can be confusing to people. But really you're getting a grain in because you chose to have a pie crust on this. Or again, it should be a whole grain crust. So you are getting a grain in for your day and part of your plate when you're having that. To go around, proteins. So you have a grain, it just doesn't look. You are getting a protein. So there's the second part of the plate. That can come from beans, cheese, egg. Those are all proteins that we chose. Again, it's not perfect on the plate. It's not a piece of chicken, right? So that can be a little bit, you got to start thinking out of the box. So I wanted you to show you this to know, because things aren't always going to be perfectly squared away. We have apple, so we have a fruit on there. We're getting a little bit of dairy in for your day because that's not one of the 4, but it is part of, you'll see it. If you go to that website, you'll see that's part of your diet. And we have a lot of vegetable. It's in the quiche and it's also in a little side salad. The salad's not huge by any means. So you're getting all of these things. It looks like 3, but really it's 4 when you consider everything all together.
So, Melissa, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
Where on your plate does the brownie and ice cream go?
Well,
Yeah.
again, that's like a sometimes thing, right?
Do what?
I said that's a sometimes thing, right?
Yeah. Question mark.
Yeah. No, what I usually tell people about dessert is it's unrealistic to say you're never going to have that, right? So I usually encourage you to maybe make it a treat. I know for myself, ice cream, if I had that, I usually won't keep it at the house. If I do, I end up eating a lot of it very quickly and it's gone very quickly. So I've just decided to treat it as a treat. So if I have it, I don't keep it at the house. I'll go out and get a treat with friends or something at local ice cream shop, or if I go over to a friend's house, I make sure to leave the dessert there or I will eat it all. Like I'm one of those. So it will be gone. If there's a pan of brownies, it will be gone in 2 days. So I've just learned those things about myself. And, you know, a lot of things in life have to do with rhythms and routines, trying new things, wanting to try new things. I think that's the biggest, like, okay, I know I need to make a change and I'm willing to do it. That's a big question I asked a lot of people when I would coach them. There's things you know you should do, but what are you willing to do? So that's
a mutual person that you and I both know, Melissa. I'm not going to call her out by name, Debbie, but every time we have, I don't know, a birthday or something, cake and this, that, and the other, guess who she always tries to pawn it off on?
You?
And I'm like, Mom, you realize I'm diabetic, right? And yeah, but I end up having to take it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know
if you don't want to let somebody down, what I usually say is just go ahead and take it and then throw it away or something. They'll never know the difference, right?
Right.
Most of the time the dogs end up with it anyway.
Yeah, she sent, Mindy had made an Easter cake for Easter.
Yeah.
And so most of it came back with us. And I had it sitting on top of the stove, and my chocolate lab decided that it was his.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that worked out pretty well for us.
Well, hopefully he was okay. And that
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a white cake with white icing. He was fine.
Okay.
No chocolate.
That's good. Do you guys have any questions today or anything that came to mind?
I did have a question because you went kind of fast on the fruit part. What do I do with my apple?
Yeah.
Do I
So
put it in my salad?
you could if you wanted sometimes. I just put mine separate. I just sliced it up. I like sliced apple. I don't like to eat it whole normally. So I just sliced it up, make sure it fit in about 1/4 of my plate. And just to make sure that's part of course, we went over the 1/4 rule. So we need a fruit on there.
Okay.
So
Well, I know my baby will at least eat the apples. I'm not gonna lie. She looks at a lot of the food that I make her crazy. That's why y'all saw me putting the pizza in the oven, just in case she rejects my food again.
did you say your daughter?
Yeah,
Yeah. You know,
I have a picky 4-year-old.
sometimes you can mask some things. Like spaghetti sauce is a really good one to mask some things in. So if it's blended pretty well, a lot of kids I found out don't know the difference. Like, oh, I threw a few extra little green peppers in there or something along those lines. You know, something to give them a little extra vegetable. I know you said you don't eat the zucchinis, I believe. That would typically be one I would mention for that, but maybe you throw a few other little peppers in there or onion, you know, something that would go well with the spaghetti sauce. And if she likes that, I'm just using it as an example, but sometimes you can mask it and they're getting it and they don't realize it, you know?
Yeah, I've tried that before with her with bananas.
Oh
Made
yeah.
her think it was just the regular pudding, but it was actually mushed up banana.
Yeah. Smoothies are a great way to mask some flavors of things.
She drinks all my smoothies. Every smoothie I make, she got to put her lips on it.
Okay, well maybe that's your ticket.
Okay, I've got it.
Now I'm thinking of a quiche smoothie for some reason.
I need to grab a fork here. How's your all's quiches looking? Are they about cooked through?
Please don't be burnt.
Mine's
Oh,
just about done. I had to flip it around.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Mine's heavy on the pepper taste.
Let's see. I have my knife right here.
Again, if you didn't
There's
feel
the
like
timer.
it very well, once you taste it, you can always add two. I'm glad I added the garlic in there. Did any of you end up adding garlic powder? You did? Okay, good.
Yep, I did.
Okay, good. That'll give it a little more depth than just the salt and pepper. Do y'all have any other questions or do you feel like you have, if you made something in a bowl, that you could apply these same concepts?
I think it would be harder, but then like when you think of like chili, you know, you have your beans, which is protein. Usually, you know, I'll do hamburger.
Sure.
Tomatoes.
Mhm.
A grain, I'm not so sure. Unless
Yeah.
you do like crackers or something.
Did you say a green or a grain?
Grain.
A grain. Yeah. Some crackers would be good with that. Again, just a lot of crackers are enriched flours, so they probably won't taste as good, but you could do they do have whole wheat crackers,
Right.
you know, or you could do a rice cracker. That might even be okay with that, depending on what your tastes are like. Yeah, chili is a good one, and that's one that you can actually add a lot of vegetable into. So I wouldn't be worried about the protein or the vegetable with that one. Of course, I feel like fruits are you're just adding them on. Somebody said, should I put this on my salad? Fruits are really good in salad too. Strawberries, those are usually really good with spinach, actually. If you wanted a little protein, an egg would be good with it if you're just doing a salad in a bowl. And then
Mandarin oranges.
Mandarin oranges, that's a great one. Yeah, those are really good. And again, maybe you just make little, there's a lot of different products out there. I mean, we're not really going to make bread. That's something that we'd probably get out of the middle section, right? But if you did like, maybe you cut toast diagonally and you did a little garlic powder on there or something, maybe a light coating, very light coating of butter, a little bit of garlic powder, make little like toast, you know, type thing. And they do that at restaurants, right? They grill bread a lot of times. You could just toast yours and do the same type of concept. So the reason I asked about the bowls, the reason I made the quiche is because not everything fits in 4 squares. You might be getting everything. It just doesn't look perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4. So does that help, Mindy? Yeah. Okay. All right. I do not have anything else for you guys today other than just take your questions and sit here and eat with you a little bit. So you let me know when your quiches are ready. You guys are taking, I tried to time this a little bit, and I'm not in a rush by any means, but mine took 20. So I think I'm at a different house right now, but in my oven, it took 25. At this oven, it's 20. So I know all the ovens are a little bit different. If you guys, I mentioned starchy and non-starchy vegetables. Let me look up real quick to give you guys a list if you were wanting to look up a list of what is what. I know not everybody on this call might be diabetic, but a lot of times you can look at different websites like diabetes.org to find information, because on like some really good resources, because they're wanting diabetics to eat healthy. And I know that they used to have a list of starchy and non-starchy vegetables. Let me check that real quick for you. Also, diabetes.org, the American Heart Association website, you might find some really good recipes. If you guys feel like I keep mentioning food ruts, I keep choosing the same things, having the same types of meals. Maybe I've had chili, it's winter time, that's like a cooler weather type meal. Maybe I keep having that in my diet and I just need something else. These websites a lot of times have recipe resources on them, and that might be a good thing to check out if you're looking for something new. Okay, yes. So if you go to the diabetes website, it is, I'll type it in the chat, diabetes.org. There is a search function on there, and all you have to type in is non-starchy vegetables, and it will come up with a pretty good list. So a lot of things that are green are going to be considered non-starchy. There's always exception to the rules. Peas are going to be considered starchy, like just regular green peas, maybe out of a can. Now, if you had the pea in the pod, maybe something like a snow pea or a sugar snap pea, I believe those are going to be considered non-starchy. But also peppers, onions, radishes, spinach, arugula, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, squashes. Think of squashes are a little bit different categories. Things like a summer squash or a spaghetti squash, those are going to be considered non-starchy. When you think of the fall, start thinking of seasons. What comes up a lot in the fall, like potatoes and stuff like that, pumpkins, acorn squash, those are going to be considered starchy. So when you think of squashes and non-starchy, think more of like the yellow summer squash type. Cucumbers are going to be considered non-starchy. Cauliflower, carrots might be questionable on that one. They have it on this list though. Bean sprouts, I could keep going. So if you're looking for a little something different, asparagus, that's going to be non-starchy. It's fairly common for people to eat. So again, just look around the store, see what's on sale. Maybe try something new if it is for you and if it's in your budget. If you want a list of starchy vegetables, let's see if they have that on here. I'm assuming they do. Actually, I would just encourage you to look at a lot of times we eat a lot of starchy. Again, corn, peas, potatoes, those are going to be non-starchy. Starchy, excuse me. Sweet potatoes are going to be considered starchy too. I get a question about that pretty often. I can see the steam off yours, Brianna, so it must be pretty hot. I can't hear you if you're saying something.
Okay, so peep this. I wasn't really sure about this because I don't eat beans. I'm not gonna lie. A zombie apocalypse will happen and I'm still not gonna eat one. But this is actually really good.
Good. I'm glad you just.
And I thank you for teaching me how to make it.
You're welcome. I'm glad you were just.
I like it.
I think that's a big part of healthy eating is just being willing to try something, you know? And maybe you don't put the beans in it. Maybe
I like it. The tomatoes. Well, even with the beans in it, it's actually really good. And the tomatoes with the broccoli, it's fire.
So again, choose whatever vegetable you have if you decide to make this again. Sometimes you just might have some random things in the refrigerator. I picked some that I normally throw in. It's quite the variety, but they all give different flavors. The most probably come from the peppers and the onions, at least in my dish. And then probably the tomatoes, and then last the broccoli, because I don't put a ton of broccoli in there, but. So, and you even have a little leftovers. I'm sure you got a bag of apples, maybe? Did you get a bag of apples?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I chose, my favorite is Pink Lady, but usually I try to avoid Red Delicious or Golden Delicious. They're just not my favorite, but Gala's would be pretty good.
This is fires.
Again, just choose what's on sale.
Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp, yeah, those are really good. Those are the ones that I always see that are probably like a baseball and a half.
I'm going to have to make this for my mom because she's diabetic. This would be something good for her to eat.
Yeah. It's hard to eat sometimes if people that you live with aren't on the same page. You're wanting to choose something healthy. I hear that pretty commonly. And what I usually encourage is at least a conversation. Hey, are you willing to have a conversation with those that you live with? Even if it's the kids, get them to chip in. A lot of times I found if they're involved in the cooking process, a lot of times they're a little bit more willing to at least try something. So I know a lot of times, sometimes you might not have time for them to chip in, but on the days you do, you know, that's something to bring them in on. And a lot of times if the whole family can get on the same page or whoever you're living with, parents, whatnot, it makes things go a little bit easier in regards to planning and making good selections.
Ours is finally done and it is delicious.
Sorry, no sausage or anything in there.
That's okay. Future plans on adding it. So
Yeah.
shredded chicken in this would be great too.
It would be, yeah, that would be a really good dinner one. I feel like you can eat this, since it has egg in it, a little bit of cheese, you can eat this one at any time, but this is more of a dinner one for sure.
Wow.
How do you feel about mushrooms? Is that something good?
Yeah,
no.
it's going to be considered non-starchy.
That's a fungus.
It is. Again, everybody has, I feel like at this point in life, everybody has different dietary needs, but again, I'm giving you some general ideas. I've given you the Diabetes American Heart Association, but those are just resources, you know, for you to look up lists of things or maybe some recipes or whatnot. But, you know, if you have special food needs, I know I do. I'm allergic to a few things. So, of course, I was just selecting something this evening. You can always take out or replace. So a little bit different, obviously. Probably not the norm for a lot of people to have.
Couldn't hear you.
You can't hear, can you hear me now?
Oh, talking to Mindy.
Oh,
I said I would make this again.
you liked it? Good. I mean, you guys can be honest with me. I like Brianna.
Really
Probably not going to do the beans. I mean, not everything in here is for everybody. It's just what I decided to do. Again, I did that because you do need to have some protein. The beans are going to add a little, the egg's going to have a little cheese. So
I'm kind of weird. If I was going to make this for myself, I would probably smash the beans up a little bit before I put them in,
Yeah,
because they seem to be just kind of rolling out. But
yeah. However you want to do it.
it's quite
Actually,
nice.
on that salad, if you ever want to do some like sliced almonds, that will add a little bit of good healthy fat in, and you could throw that on there. I would tend to buy almonds or any type of nuts or seeds in bulk, because those can get a little pricey if you're buying just packs of them. Bulk seem to go a little bit better. So if you shop at Costco, or actually I've seen bigger packs at Aldi as well. Again, that's one of those middle grocery store items that would be a really good selection. So you could do spinach if you wanted to add a fruit on that's a little different. The strawberries, the almonds, or like the mandarin oranges and the almonds, those would all go very well together.
Now, if we wanted to add the spinach into the quiche,
Go for it.
what would we do? Just chop it up real fine and just throw it in there? Or
Yes, you would. Actually, yes, I would chop it up really fine, throw it in there, and you would probably need more than what we cut up, because I was just doing a fourth of the plate. So
Right.
when you're thinking about that, you need to like cut it out, think about a larger portion, of course.
now, you
But
wouldn't
yeah,
put it in with the onions and stuff while it's frying. You would just actually
You
put it
could.
in. Oh, you could? Okay.
yeah, you can do it either way. You can throw it with onions and peppers, or you can toss it in there. I mean, it's going to wilt pretty quick, because at 400 degrees, that's going to wilt pretty
Right.
quick. So you can do it either way. You could do like the mix. Maybe you take out the broccoli, but you add spinach in there.
Ashley said, I don't like it that much.
What'd she say?
Her daughter, Mindy's daughter, said, "I don't like it that much." Yeah, which means she likes it. So you gotta understand.
Well, that's okay. It's not for everyone.
Oh no, she likes it. That's what I'm saying. She it's got eggs in it, and she swears that she does not like eggs, but she's lying. So yeah. So you got the 10-year-old thumb up.
That's good. Do you guys need any other resources? Or was this new information to you about how to set up your plate properly? Or
This was fantastic, actually. This is great information.
yeah.
That's really good.
I ate my piece of keys fast. So now my stomach's hurting.
Well,
I
left that up to you. So you're
was so good. I can't wait to get up in the middle of the night and sneak some by myself.
all right. If you guys don't have any other questions for me, I don't want to hold you up too long. We're going on about an hour and a half or more now. So
All right. Well, if no one has any questions, I'm going to hit stop record. Everyone good?
do I need to pass you back control, Kevin?
No, I've still got it.
Okay.